I think I got everything. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the last VAB Veterans Advisory Board meeting of the year. In this, we'll probably give you the schedule for the next meeting. I want to welcome everyone in their respective places. And we're going to get started. And I'm going to have the current Veterans Advisory Board members, if you're on the call, please just unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and then we'll move forward in the meeting with DVS, and we're going to start with Kwame Francis. But before that, let's let the Veterans Advisory Board members please introduce yourself. Let's start with Todd and then Mr. Kaufman, Peter, and if there's any other advisory board members on the phone, please chime in, and we would love to hear from you.
Thanks, Wendy, and hi, everybody. Todd Haskins, representing Manhattan. I'm a Marine, and I've been on the board for about 5 years, so excited to be here and hoping to be back in person soon.
Hi, I'm Peter Kaufman, representing Queens, and I'm former Navy.
Hi, I'm Mercedes Elias, Marine Corps veteran representing Queens, also the secretary of the board.
And I'm Wendy McClinton. I'm representing Brooklyn. I'm an Army veteran and been on the board for a minute now. Loving every minute of it. All right. And as other board members come in, I know that Joe is at another event and he'll be on shortly. And we're going to get started. So we welcome everyone. I also see Mr. Polak, you are with the Office of the New York City Council Speaker. How are you? And welcome to our VAB meeting. Would you like to have some greetings and say some words?
Chair McClinton, I am grateful to be here. I'm grateful to the VAB, and I'm here to listen and make sure that this speaker and the incoming speaker have an idea of what's going on.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. And I'm also, Mercedes later on is going to put the dates of the upcoming for the next year, our VAB meetings, so everyone could adjust their calendars accordingly early so we could get the word out and also be able to share early and prior so we can best prepare for next year. You know, the 5 Ps, prior planning prevents a poor performance. So we want to get the information out and get it out early. All right. So we're going to open up and we're going to ask Mr. Kwame Francis. Thank you so much for your service. DVS, thank you so much for your service with the Veterans Day breakfast. It was beautiful. It was enjoyed by all. Venue was nice and different and interesting. Everything was great. Thank you so much. The parade. It has been an excellent Veterans Week. And probably still other things going on. So we're going to turn it over into the hands of DVS to share with our body of listeners and viewers to come in your own way. Welcome, Mr. Francis.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy, and to the members of the board. Thank you so much. I echo those sentiments. It was an amazing Veterans Day breakfast. So thank you all for coming and supporting that. Good evening to everyone, and happy Veterans Day month, or Veterans Month is what I like to say. And a belated birthday to my fellow Marines out there, hoorah. So my name is Kwame Francis. I'm the Deputy Commissioner at the New York City Department of Veteran Services. And on behalf of Commissioner Hendon and our DVS team, we thank you all again for participating in last week's Veterans Day activities across the 5 boroughs. So whether that's the breakfast, the parade, or other events that took place throughout the city last week, it was an amazing turnout all around. And it was just great to see many of you in person, some of you for the first time throughout the past couple of weeks. I also want to acknowledge that in line with what Wendy mentioned, while this is the last Veterans Advisory Board meeting of the year, and as it relates to this administration with Mayor de Blasio, our mission continues. We're grateful for all of the collaborative work that we've done with you, with the board and all of our veterans and supporters throughout the year, and advancing the work that we do on behalf of our city's veterans and their families. Whether that's tackling food insecurity, addressing health and mental health service gaps, employment, housing, and homelessness, and continue to build on the cultural aspects as it relates to veterans in this city. So I just want to take some time to share a few notable announcements that were made last week, either by the state and the city that we directly supported and or advocated for. So first and foremost, New York City Department of Veteran Services, we launched Vet Connect Pro. So that's a first in the nation employment tool that connects veterans looking for work in the New York City public and private sector to matching employment opportunities. Some of the features of that, newly configured site includes proprietary military skills translator, a dashboard that provides job postings from city agencies, as well as information from local, state, and federal benefits, civil service exams, and recommended online job training. And so to learn more about that, you can visit our website, nyc.gov/vets. Again, that's nyc.gov/vets. And another couple announcement made by the governor this past week that we advocated for included legislation which expanded what's called the Merit Scholarship by making it available to all families of fallen and disabled service members. So it removes the current requirement that a requirement of military service occurring after August 2nd, 1990 for their children and spouses to be eligible to receive such scholarships. So again, that's expanding the merit-based scholarship, making it available to all families of fallen and disabled service members. And then secondly, we had legislation that passed at the state that provides for all men and women that have served with the ability to receive credits for civil service appointments and promotions by removing the restriction that you must be a combat veteran. So again, if you are a veteran, regardless if you've served in combat or not, you are eligible to receive those civil service credits as it relates to appointments and promotions. So I'll drop the link in the chat so that everybody has access to that. So you can check it out on your own after this. Give me 1 second. Let me just put it in there. So we have that. X. All right. I'll make sure everybody has access to that. And just in continuing on, lastly, as it relates to COVID, we partner with the State Division of Veteran Services to advocate for data sharing between the VA and the State Department of Health so that veterans can utilize programs like the New York State Excelsior Pass, the Excelsior Pass Plus, and other programs and services, including critical public safety services. You know, that advocacy culminated in the governor signing the executive order that directs the Department of Veteran Services to transmit immunization records. Now, that process is underway. It's not fully completed, and we'll make sure that once it is completed, that we'll share that information widely across the various mediums in our newsletter, with the board certainly, and across our social media platforms. So let veterans know that they can utilize those state services and to get access to those different benefits. Let me also drop that link in there. That way you can also have access to that, so you can refer to it. All right. All right. All right, there's that. I want to make sure you have access to it later. So those are some of the notable announcements that came out of last week's Veterans Day. All of that said, we understand that the work continues and will only continue if everyone here on this call and, the veterans that you would talk to after here remains engaged, informed, and constructively collaborate so we can continue to strengthen the resolve of our community. And so before I pass it back to you, Wendy and or Mercedes, I just want to call out a few of our members here on the call. We're joined by, joining us from DVS. The DVS team is Cassandra Alvarez. She's our Associate Commissioner for Policy and Strategic Partnerships. We also have Amari Espinal. He's our Assistant Commissioner for Community Services. Alan Houston, our Press Secretary. Ellen Greeley, our Director of Grants Administration. I believe we have Dana Rock as well, our Director of Housing, and Glenda Garcia, our General Counsel and Agency Chief Contracting Officer. So before I pass it back to the board, does anyone from the DVS team want to say anything or share any notable updates in your portfolios?
Just wanted to mention to everybody that on December 6th, the time has yet to be set. DVS is going to be collaborating with the Mayor's Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, better known as OATH. We're going to have a special virtual program about a program that OATH has to assist veterans and how they may adjudicate any type of tickets they might be getting from other city agencies. So look for that coming in some social media mechanism to alert the public about it.
Yep. Thanks for sharing that, Ellen. Anyone else before I pass it back to the board? And for everyone on the call, we're happy and we're looking forward to engaging with you and taking all of your questions to get you the support that you need.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kwame. Thank you, DVS team. Is there anyone that has any questions or anything that they would like to ask our DVS team? Or there was some, before I know, Ellen, look, I'm looking forward to this oath with these tickets. Because I don't understand how if the school is closed and it says 30, 20 miles per hour in the zone, but the school is closed, only when the school is open, how do you get a ticket?
Yeah, okay, well, this will be part of the session that you'll probably want to.
Not that I'm speeding down the school zone, mind you,
Right.
but guess what?
I know,
You
yeah,
know, it's closed, but
right.
in any event, it is. Mercedes, I'm not sure, were there a couple of questions that we had from the last meeting that need to be answered?
We did. So the first question is, what's the current status with the military veteran preference for these street cart vendors?
So I can take that one, Mercedes. So the last we checked, I checked in with my commissioner and our team today about this and yesterday. So currently that legislation is still held up, unfortunately, at the state. It has not came out of committee, both in the assembly side and the state senate side. So we're gonna immediately tomorrow do some outreach to our state legislative teams to see how we might get that movement in the next legislative session. So currently it's in the state assembly and state senate committees.
Is it true, Mr. One minute, say
Go
this.
ahead,
Is
go ahead.
it true, Mr. Kwame, Mr. Francis, that they're not, I heard, I don't know if it's true, that they're not doing any more vendor license? Everything has been on hold, or this is just talk amongst the veteran community. Has it been on hold, or can people apply for their licenses, or there's been a cutoff, there's no more carts? Is that true?
Yeah, that's not my understanding. The program should still be alive and well. We'll definitely verify that and follow up with you on that. I'll make that note as a follow-up. But as far as we know, the program is still alive and well, and there has not been any sort of interruption to that. But the current legislation that we're in reference to that particular follow-up is held up in committee right now. So we'll follow up on both fronts and share an update with you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the next follow-up is the current booster eligibility for vaccinations at the VA.
Yeah, so we looked into that, and Amari can feel free to chime in. We connecting with the VA about this. They're following the CDC guidance. So currently, the booster shots are not available to all veterans in New York City, but however, the Department of Health in New York City ran medical facilities. You are eligible. All veterans are eligible. Everyone in New York City is eligible to receive their booster shot, regardless if they didn't receive their first 2 shots from one of those city ran medical facilities. So we'll definitely share more updates once the VA, in accordance with CDC guidance, allows for the VA to provide booster shots. But currently, they're not providing it for all veterans. Just a specific segment of veterans, and that's listed on the CDC's website. I don't know if you have anything else to add on that.
Yeah, no, Kwame, you did a good job summing it up. As you said, they're following CDC guidance. Right now, for those who have had full doses of Moderna, Pfizer, or the 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson, are eligible if you have had it 6 months prior. So if you were fully vaccinated at least 6 months ago, you are eligible, and one of these must be true. And this is from the VA's website, that you're at least 65 years old, you're at least 18 years old and live in a long-term care facility, you're at least 18 years old and you have an underlying medical condition, and you're at least 18 years old and you work or live in a high-risk setting. So it is still for those that are more vulnerable. But as mentioned, VA is following CDC guidelines, and you're free to contact your local VA site or anywhere that offers the vaccinations for more updates on that. And we'll of course post the updates as we receive them as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
and the last thing, because this session is going to be a little bit more focused on mental health, especially coming up to the holidays and different resources. If you have any specific resources you would like to highlight, please let everybody know.
Yeah, so again, I will be posting a VA link that shares different types of mental health resources. So you know, as we approach the holiday season, it is a time of joy and reflection for a lot of us, but for some, you know, it may bring up some traumatic memories, right? And we have to bear that in mind. You know, that some of those, you know, remind us of a time of sadness or mourning because we were away from our loved ones, or, you know, or another traumatic event. Yeah, there are several resources for those veterans that are, you know, coping with mental health, specifically with PTSD during the holiday season. So again, I'm going to drop this link in the chat box there. And I mean, there's a number of different providers listed here. So definitely not a shortage of help if you need it out there. Obviously, immediate emergency, you know, please call the Veterans Crisis Line. They're open 24/7. Trained specialists to help any veteran or any family member, you know, with an emergency. And again, I'm dropping that in the chat box right now.
Ellen, did you?
That's going to be essential, especially with us coming post-COVID. I mean, a lot of individuals have lost loved ones, and, you know, during COVID, and this is their first years as Thanksgiving approaches, those loved ones are not here. Or, you know, especially, and then Christmas comes. A lot of, with the groups that we're doing and being a participants in, I'm hearing that a lot of individuals really are not facing Thanksgiving and Christmas well because of coming out of COVID. And, you know, the family members and stuff that were lost. And a lot of family members were patriarchs and matriarchs of these families. And just how are they going, dealing with the mental health of how are they going to cope without this individual? There's a void there. So any type of resource that we can post online, that we can post on the DVS website, anything that we can post on our own individual sites, you know, like, hey, this is where you can go if you don't want to be by yourself. I don't, you know, I'm suggesting that it not just be where resources, if you don't want to be by yourself, this is where you need to go. This is where there's a function. This is where there's a dinner. This is where there's that camaraderie that holds us together. It's going to be important now between November and especially in December with holding our veteran community together. So we want to really take interest in that. If there's anyone that knows of any other resources, please, we had some, I got some resources I'm going to send to Mercedes. I'm going to ask her to help me. I don't have them, but here to post them in the chat because Ms. Conley has them, but there are faith-based institutions that have different support groups and different things like that to cope with, you know, PTSD and the holidays. And how do we get, and just post those things up so veterans and families could have them, because it's very important. We lost a lot of veterans during COVID, you know, and I would hate to lose veterans during the holiday season, you know, so we need to really work on that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I just dropped a link, Wendy, if I may, to our DVS website, where it has a lot of different resources in the mental health space. So across different categories such as coping skills, check-in calls, counseling services. You talked about having a sort of a warm touch with a fellow veteran. So there's peer support for veterans, the support hotline, suicide prevention, as well as mental health resources for veterans with different illnesses. And so I just dropped that link in there. There's a lot of different things under each category that, you know, veterans can access. So please, you know, I just dropped it in the link. Feel free to everybody to check that out. Ellen, I don't know if you want to talk about anything specific.
Yeah, I'm happy to chat a little bit. So one of the things that we are doing, I've been involved in creating these crisis mapping teams in Staten Island and Queens. And the good news, Wendy, is that we're coming your way to Brooklyn. So I will be working with my colleagues from from SAMHSA and also from the VA in facilitating workshops to better coordinate medical centers and behavioral health centers and community-based organizations to understand more about veterans. You know, as you probably know, more than 50% of our veterans don't go to VA health facilities. They really seek their health and their mental health in the community, yet the community is not necessarily veteran culturally competent. So a big mission of what we're trying to do is get these civilian medical and behavioral health centers more oriented towards a better understanding of veterans so they can better serve them and their families. So good news is I'm hoping in the first quarter of 2022, we will be involved in structuring a series of workshops in Brooklyn. The other piece is that we're also actively involved in planning for the conversion of the National Suicide Lifeline number to 3 digits, 988. I don't know if you're aware of it, but in July of 2022, the 10-digit number is going to be converted to this 3-digit 988. There's a lot of planning going on at the state level. Vibrant has a lead on it. Vibrant is also the mental health organization that is actually part of the NYC Well program. And in addition, I would encourage people who are having some mental health concerns. One is that we have, through our Vet Connect system, and Amara, you might want to chat this up a little bit, but there's different avenues for assistance. I mean, the mission continues, Team Red, White, and Blue, Rubicon, Team Rubicon. These are all organizations that schedule active programs for veterans. On top of it, there are cultural programs as well as they're seeking specific mental health. We have Headstrong, we have the Cone Clinic at NYU that are very culturally competent in that particular area. Maury, is there anything else you might want to add?
No, I just want to thank you, Ellen. I just want to highlight the fact that, yeah, and as Wendy mentioned previously, not all veterans are seeking, traditional medical treatment, right? They may not want to be prescribed medication. They may want to, it may just be a matter of, feeling that camaraderie again and spending time with fellow veterans and doing activities. Isolation is real. Depression and isolation is real. And especially throughout COVID, I know it's been difficult for a lot of people, having that feeling of loneliness and despair. So yeah, we have a plethora of different organizations provide different services and activities in our Vet Connect NYC platform. So please, guide them to us, if you come across a veteran who's in need of that.
I'm also thinking that a lot of our veterans, a huge population of our veterans are 55 and over. And one thing I'm thinking about them being 55 and older, pick me, normally kidding, but they are not able to navigate the technology that we have. So Ellen and the team, I'm asking, is there any way, back in school, and most of we used to have these things I used to call a cheat sheet. It was a sheet that had all the key facts that I needed to do a quiz or an exam or resources. Is there any way that we can create, Ellen, a sheet, Amari, Kwame, or Ms. Alvarez, of anything with the mental health, the links? Because we have them in a chat, but is there any way that we can create like maybe a 1-pager with all of the things listed with the addresses or whatever? And then Ellen, we can take advantage of maybe Hello Ready Fresh next week,
sticking them in the bags.
And then I can put that information inside the bags.
Yep.
So that
Sounds like a great
individuals
idea.
can get out. You know what I mean? And then I can make some and put them at the front desk at 665 at my headquarters, and everyone else can print that out. So when we have that community or that group, that's not tech savvy, we're able to push that information out, to people, because we have to remember everybody, we have a lot of veterans that are coming home now. They're tech savvy and they're using that, but we still have a lot of individuals that are moving, moving into that realm, but they're not that savvy. So
Right.
how do we develop something, palm
Sure.
card, whatever? I
Yeah, that's a
believe the
great
old way
idea.
still works.
Yeah, the other piece is that we do take telephone calls. 212-416-5250. So that,
Got you.
just for you to know, there is actually a human being on the other side of the telephone.
Okay, we want to share the help. Because if you got 300 people calling at one time,
Okay, bring them on. We
know,
get out
so
1,000 turkeys yesterday. We can bring
Man,
on 300 phone
listen.
calls in a day, right, Amari?
I don't want to
Not
talk
a
about the
problem.
turkeys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Those turkeys were a blessing, but oh God. but it was good. So if we can do that and
Yeah.
we can get that sheet out and we can email or put it out so we can hand it out in those bags are going to reach 2,000 people.
Yep.
So we need to do that every
Great.
week and
Great.
update it every week. So
Very
I think
good.
that'll be an excellent piece.
Great
Yeah,
idea.
I'll
Thanks,
definitely work on that, Wendy. Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay.
No worries. And then if anyone on the line, from any other organization, Mr. Lewis or anyone, Mr. Matthews, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Anyone on that, if you have any resources, let's develop a resource bank. Not just online, but something that we can print and use this vehicle for food and for food disparities to get other information out to veterans and their families.
Yep.
That this help is available for you. And I think that's really going to work.
It's a great idea.
All right, DVS, do you have anything else you would like to share?
Yeah, I think we have Dana on the line, right? Dana, we had some information around some housing services. I believe that were interrupted, but we have information that we'd like to share on that. Dana, if you can sort of tell a bit about that and get some context around what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Happy Veterans Day month. I'm just going to give a quick update. This past week, the state, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, known as ERAP, ended pretty abruptly on Sunday, the 14th. So we are tracking. We've spoken with some community-based organizations that do the ERAP applications and sort of what they're doing to still assist veterans who are facing rental arrears or in need of assistance. So the first thing I will mention is that while the ERAP portal did close on the 14th, we have a few more days through the 20th for the LRAP, which is the Landlord Rental Assistance Program. Essentially, the landlord can go in directly themselves and request rental assistance the same way that the tenants were. So we do have a few days for that. And if anyone does have applications in process, they, please hang tight. They are reviewing them still for anyone that was submitted beforehand. And now HRA, previously while ERAP was up and running and active in the portal, you couldn't apply directly for a one-shot deal without trying the ERAP first. So that's no longer the case. Veterans and their families and service members who owe rent can apply for one-shot deal directly at HRA. We're happy to help navigate that process if you contact us. And similar, SSVF does have their prevention and their assistance program for veterans who are at risk. And I saw an announcement last week with SSVF with some changes and updates. There is a flyer that I'm gonna see if we can share out. I can put it in the chat. There is a flyer for SSVF. I wanted to mention their income cap raised ever so slightly this year, as well as information on some of the services that they offer either through the Shallow Subsidy Program and their emergency housing hotel program. So I'll share that flyer, but that is another resource that we're encouraging any veterans who, maybe you were planning on applying for ERAP and you didn't get around to it. You can go to HRA for a one-shot deal, or you can, if you're eligible for services through SSVF, we can connect you to one of the 4 providers. And
Thanks.
that's, yep, I will also post in the chat the flyer and the link for information on ERAP and the portal closing.
Excellent.
Also, Dana, thank you so much. Dana, right?
Yep.
Make sure I got it right.
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, because there's also, I know that Black Veterans for Social Justice, and there's some other community-based organizations that have federal programs through HUD that can assist as well, and also through the United Way. So if they can't get through HRA, they can also visit those programs as well. And I'll link you with those individuals and those service providers that provide that service as well. So there's another help for any veteran that is in need of assistance. Okay, DVS, thank you so much. You know, we don't want you to leave. You can stay on and just enjoy us. We love seeing your faces. So we can hear the rest of the stuff what everyone else has to say. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for what you do with veterans in the community. And we definitely look forward to, you know, continuing the work that we have to do to make New York City and all its veterans, you know, get the services and stuff that they need. And I know that I've created this saying for myself and for other veterans, and I want us to put this in our mind as well. A lot of times people say thank you for your service to veterans and say to each other, but we have to ask the question that is the service that I'm receiving equate to the service that I gave? So when we keep that in mind, especially with veterans who gave the ultimate, there's veterans who sacrificed, veterans who gave ultimate services. Are the services that we provide equal to the service that our veterans gave? So I want us, and I'm asking everyone to keep that in mind. And I know that you do. So thank you so much for all the services that you provide, making sure that they equal the services that our veterans gave. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask, I have Mr. Arnold Lewis of Sage Vets with us, and I want to give him the opportunity and this portion to share some resources and stuff for our veterans as well.
Thank you, Wendy. And it's great seeing you again. It was great running into you at the parade last week as well. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having Sage Vets to your meeting tonight. My name is Arnold Lewis, and I am the administrative coordinator for Sage Vets. Sage Vets is a New York State program for LGBTQ veterans 50 years of age and older. We offer outreach and referral services, as well as programs designed to highlight issues specific to those who served pre-Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We work in partnership with veteran service programs across the state to provide legal information and referrals to VA benefits, including medical, pension, and education. Sage Vets falls under the Sage Care Management Department, which includes the caregiving program. The caregiving program provides case management, home care respite, short-term counseling, and various other services. I would like to take a moment to mention a few of our recent activities. Sage Vets had the honor of marching in the New York City Veterans Day Parade last week. We were fortunate enough to have Senator Brad Holman stop by just as we were launching into the parade. It was a wonderful day, and there was so much to support from the thousands of spectators who lined the streets in a unified display of gratitude for all veterans. Our contingent, some who were over 90 years of age and disabled, were deeply grateful for the support, and it was a moving experience to see their joy. Yesterday, Sage Vets hosted a panel of medical experts representing VA facilities in each of the 5 boroughs to celebrate Transgender Awareness Week. We had our first national audience thanks to some publicity on the VA's national event page of their website. It was an informative session that highlighted some of the lesser known services available at the VA for transgender and gender diverse veterans. A recording of the video will be made available soon. Sage Vets is excited to be hosting a Restoration of Honor conference with the New York State Division of Veteran Services. Currently, there are 5 states that have passed Restoration of Honor legislation designed to restore honor to LGBT veterans who were discharged for sexual orientation or gender identity. We are honored to bring together representatives from Rhode Island, Illinois, Connecticut, and New York to talk about their respective restoration of honor legislation. The discussion will focus on how the legislation came about, what is still needed, and how other states can get involved. This is our first CLE program, and we would thank the New York State Bar Association for sponsoring this event. It is also where Sage Vet's program manager, Ashton Stewart, is currently located as we speak. Finally, Sage Vets has 3 partners helping us promote our statewide program in Central and Western New York, and most recently in Long Island, with our new partners in Long Island Cares, Inc., the Harry Chapin Food Bank. Ashton will be joining them next Tuesday at a Veterans stand down, to hand out turkeys to veterans and their families in need. He will also be sharing some custom-made pillows made by veterans at Harlem Yes and Sage for any veterans struggling with homelessness. If anyone would like any additional information about the Sage Vets program, you can reach me at alewis@sageusa.org or 929-484-4178. I will drop this information in the chat, and as well as a link to our latest Sage Vets newsletter. We thank the Veterans Advisory Board for their devoted dedication to New York City veterans, and thank you for the opportunity to share this update. Thanks again.
Wendy, you're on mute.
Yeah, I had to push the button. Oh my goodness. There's so much to remember, right?
All the time.
So much. Push the button. Do this. Read the chat. It's too much. Too much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Lewis, for all that you and Ashton do for this, extraordinary community, keeping everyone in tune, because everyone works together to get the mission done, right?
Exactly.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Thank
So
you.
if you can put those key points again, if there's anything that you need us to get out to the veteran community, get it to me or to Ms. Conley. We'll print everything out and we'll get that information into those bags. We'll get that information onto our websites so that individuals can see it as well.
Will do.
All right.
Thank you.
Is anyone that would like to share anything or speak on anything that Mr. Lewis has advised us on? If not, we're going to move on to Mr. Michael Matthews. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, and thank you. Thank you so much. It looks like my slides are coming up. And I have to say, I have to give a shout out to DVS, because they're really the reason that we are here today. Well, I'm going to really be talking about a couple of things. We're talking about Staten Island PPS suicide, veteran suicide prevention, a program called ETSSP, and something called SDOH outreach. So next slide, please. So just to give some idea, the Staten Island PPS is actually a civilian organization. We've been in operation for about 6 years. And what we've been doing is a population health based approach to improving health outcomes. Okay, that's good enough. We can go to the next one. By the way, what happened, the reason that we got into working within the veteran population is because of DVS. DVS back in March of 2020 decided they wanted to develop a pilot program for the city for suicide prevention, community-based. And they held a meeting at the Coast Guard base. We went and we realized the PPS, with our very, very strong civilian organization and network, were a great partner. And since then, Ellen and others have been absolutely fantastic in working with them. So, but let me just briefly, people probably know this, but let me just give the perspective on the suicide prevention. Why is it important? In the general population, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death. Been increasing since 2005, but the suicide rate for the veteran population is 1.5 times that of the general population, particularly for the post 9/11 era. 4 to 5 times as many service members or veterans have died by suicide than in combat. And for the post 9/11 group, it's doubled since 2006 to 2016. What we've also learned is that first year of transition back to civilian life is the period of highest risk, suicide risk, for veterans re-entering. DOD, VA have had, made efforts. It's been minimal in terms of their effect. And what the direction right now is to really move to something called a public health or social determinants of health model. Basically, what that means is that, providing mental health or substance use treatment isn't enough. You really have to get the things, I can talk about it later. Social determinants of health are things like, do you have a job? Do you have a home? Do you have enough food, and so on? And that we really need to pay more attention to those kinds of factors for suicide prevention. So next slide, please. What I wanted to talk about is a program called ETSSP. It's Expiration Term of Service Sponsorship Program. This is a program. The basic idea of this program is within a community, to develop a group of trained sponsors who are connected with a service member before they're discharged. They stay in touch with them, and then once the service member goes back to their home community, they stay in touch for at least a year. The whole idea is to provide support, services. This is a program that's really geared particularly at this post 9/11 group of veterans that are so at risk for suicide. So I want to mention it because here on Staten Island, we're what's called a Community Integration Coordinator for the ETS program. However, it's being rolled out nationally. There is an opportunity for anyone to become a sponsor. Civilians can be trained as a sponsor as well. So I just have some information in this slide. If anyone is interested in getting more information about this, or any veterans or civilians who are interested, the contact information is on this slide, and you can contact me as well. Next slide, please. What I wanted to do is just talk a little bit. I mentioned this whole idea that kind of moving towards a public health or a social determinants of health model. The idea is that health outcomes, and suicide is a health outcome. A small part of the outcome is determined by what kind of medical treatment you get, genes and stuff like that. The rest of it really is things what we call social determinants of health. Again, like I said, it's, do you have a job? Do you have enough food? Do you have, do you have proper education, transportation, things like that? So you know what I'm talking about when I talk about social determinants of health. I just want to explain that. Next slide, please. What I wanted to say here on Staten Island, what we did was we got a couple of grants and we did outreach to the Staten Island veterans. And what we did was we outreached them and used something called the Social Determinants of Health Survey. And just to give you, and by the way, these were civilian organizations that did this. So just to give you some idea of what we did is we had over 2,000 individual veterans who were contacted. Of those who were contacted, we delivered 252 different kinds of services, whether it be connecting them to health and social services, food, utility, and so on. We also delivered over 31,000 meals to veterans. Next slide, please. As I said, these are civilian organizations, and what we knew is that we had to educate our civilian outreach workers in the military culture. And this image kind of captures it, because you see this individual, he's looking in the mirror what a civilian would see is the guy who's looking in the mirror. What he sees is, himself in uniform. And what this really gets to is that so many of service members and veterans are actually served in civilian organizations, but we need to educate our civilian providers and outreach workers to understand what the military culture is. Next slide, please. I just wanted to mention how we did that. And I have to also give a shout out to Paul Dietrich, who I don't think he's on the call, but he's the one who invited me to participate tonight. And I have to tell you that Paul has helped us tremendously. And with Paul's advice, we developed a document and a script to basically to give some education to our outreach workers who are civilian, how to approach, how to talk with veterans. We also use an organization called Psych Armor, which is a nationally recognized provider of online training in military culture. And we offer these trainings to our outreach workers. I'm just going to make one final comment, and that is, I think as we've learned more about getting involved with, helping veterans, there are many, many veterans who are not being seen in the VA, and they're seen in civilian organizations. And we're very committed to trying to educate our civilian providers about the importance of recognizing the veteran status and what that means. And my favorite phrase lately is the veterans in our civilian providers, they're hiding in plain sight. So that's kind of that's my presentation for today. And I thank you for giving me, the opportunity, to talk with you. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So thank you very much.
You're on mute, Wendy.
Another button. But no, Mr. Matthews, thank you so much. My question would be then, how do we take this? And this is one of the part of the things with the VAB and those things, because I don't want, well, I can't say but a lot of times I find, Mr. Matthews, and everyone else can chime in with me, is that sometimes we work in silos. How do we take something that you're doing in Staten Island and then we move it to other boroughs so that it's working across the board ecumenically? You muted too. You got to push the button. Mr. Matthews, you got to push the button. Yeah.
Sorry. So first of all, in terms of the ETS SP program, that is nationwide. There's also an organization, in New York City, Pro Vetus, anyone who is interested, in other words, we're Staten Island, but if you're not Staten Island, you can get involved in the ETS SP program, actually anywhere in the country almost at this point. So that's the first thing I would say. The other thing I would say is I'm trying to see if we still have folks from DVS, Ellen, because DVS has actually started, based on our experience as a pilot on Staten Island, they've started a similar program in Queens. So I'm not sure, where that stands right now, but DVS.
Ellen, you can take that, right?
Yeah, sure. So, crisis mapping is what we started in Staten Island with Mike, and we extended that into Queens. And then again, we're going to start a crisis mapping in Brooklyn shortly next year. I do want to give a shout out. Danielle Bracco, who heads up the ETS sponsorship program, is also on the line here too. If there's any, besides Mike's organization, if there's anybody that has an interest in ETSSP, please contact us. We're happy to put you into contact, with Danielle Bracco and also with Mike. So we're also helping to roll it out and recruit for it. In fact, I was trained last week. So I'm looking forward to being assigned as a transitioning service member shortly. Danielle, did you want to say something since you're on the line?
No, I just want to thank you for the shout out. I came on to see Mike Matthews and Christine Bradley from Provetis is on also. So I just wanted to thank everybody the opportunity and thank you, Ellen. So we are working with transitioning service members across the country, at many different installations. Actually, many of you may know Dr. Joe Geraci. He's actually down at Fort Hood. Speaking at their leadership council. What they're trying to do is our program connects to service members 10 to 12 months out before their ETS date. So we try to connect them with all their resources in the great community organizations that are already existing, that 10 to 12 months out. And that sponsor is that connector. So hopefully by the time they get to the communities, all of your communities, they've already kind of, checked a lot of the boxes and know which community organizations will be there to support them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this has been an excellent meeting. I'm really excited about what's going to happen, especially going into 2022. I think that we are on the horizon of getting this information out, getting it to the new administration, and so that they know what they're working with as well. Mr. Polek, I hope that you've got a wealth of information that you can help and move everyone with. And I think that it's going to be a great piece moving forward into the next year. I think that COVID is not going to be a hindrance. We're still deciding as VAB. I think that I don't know. I want to get the sense of everyone that's on this call. I'm thinking that especially with our board members, as Mercedes, thank you so much for all that you do, and every board member in looking at the calendar for our new our upcoming for next year, our VAB meetings. I'm thinking that virtual works because everyone's not ready yet to go in person. But I think that we can reach more veterans and reach more individuals if we continue our virtual meetings. And then when there becomes a time when everyone feels like they're safe and that they can come together and meet in those large venues, we'll do just that. So I want to know if there's anything else that anyone else needs to share, anything else that we want to move forward, because we kept within our time span. And we're going to see how we can expand that, because as the individuals join in with us, there's going to be more questions. There's going to be more things that we need to discuss because every day another veteran comes home and we want to do that. Is there anyone on the call, anyone else that want to have closing remarks or anything that they would like to share or anything that they feel a question that needs to be answered?
Hello. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Stephen.
How you doing? I'm a veteran and I heard about this Zoom meeting. So thank you to everyone for everything that you do and you have done for veterans, especially DVS in the last year. A lot of progress has been made to help veterans, especially with the civil service exams, the waiver of the fee. As you know, some of those fees, it can range from as low as $40 to as high as $110. So that is great work that DVS did. For years, that was always a question. And especially with the 10 points veteran points that can only be used once, but now you can use it all the time.
Excellent.
Thank you, DVS. I do have a suggestion going forward. Perhaps DVS could tackle this. This is as far as employment opportunities for veterans. As you know, many veterans are either on the low income scale or in the middle income bracket. And there is opportunities to make money. One is, I'm sorry for the noise in the background. There is TLC plates. Many veterans are great drivers because being in the military, we whether we have the license or not, we could drive just about anything. I myself served 28 years, and I could drive tractor trailers even though I don't have the license. But many veterans that I've spoken to lately at the VA while visiting, they would like to drive for Lyft or Uber because there is great opportunity to make money there, also to supplement their income. But unfortunately, New York City has halted the issuing new TLC plates because of the whole, there's too many vehicles on the road. But if you do have an electric vehicle or you do have a wheelchair accessible van, you can get a TLC plate. Well, those type of vehicles are pretty expensive. Many veterans, an electric vehicle is very expensive, and even a wheelchair accessible van is pretty pricey. Many veterans have their own vehicles and they would like to drive for Lyft or Uber, but right now, those TLC plates, perhaps an exemption can be made for veterans. Along the same line, on your work when it comes to the food vendor cards that you're working on right now, because I myself just received a license and my name has to go on the waiting list for the permit itself because there's a cap, and you're working on that, which is great. Perhaps an exemption can also be made, just like with the civil service exams. Perhaps an exemption could be made for veterans who would like to get a TLC place in order to drive for Lyft or Uber.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Steve, I'll jump right in. I think it's a great idea, and definitely will take that up for sure. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's a phenomenal, a lot of veterans, especially even if they're from New York City or they're from elsewhere and they come to New York City after they've left active service, many of us have vehicles. And so as a way to sort of continue to provide for themselves and their families, that's one other way. And so we will absolutely look into that for sure. So thanks for bringing that up.
All right, thank you. And once again, thank you to all for all the great work you have done.
No, thank you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for, we're looking for innovative new ways for that veterans can become, be woven into the fabric of New York City. And that's what we're trying to do, make everybody New York City veteran friendly, and then woven into the fabric of New York City as well. So with that, is there anything else that we need to share? Mercedes, Todd, Peter, is there anything else that we need to share?
Nothing on my end.
Everyone good? Okay, we want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. We want to promote this. Put these meetings on your websites, put them on your Facebook pages, as well as I did. And we want to get as many veterans as we can on these calls so you can hear the needs of veterans so that we can meet them as well. Okay, have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. May God bless you. May he keep you, and may his light forever shine upon you. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.